We've done the mic check. We've checked the mic check, and I think we're ready to kick off our season premiere. You ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Okay. Coming down in 3,
2, 1.
Hi, and welcome to the season 2 premiere of Conversations with Myself.
A journey of self-discovery.
My name is Brent, and with me, as always, is the darling to my Roseanne. This is Xavier. Say hi, Xavier.
Hi, guys.
So we our last episode was way back in like early December. We took almost 2 months off.
Yeah, almost 2 months.
Well, and the reason why we did that is because the holidays were coming up, and we had a lot of stuff going on, and January started, and we really kind of hit 2020, just hit the ground running with a new year, and we've just been busy with a lot of stuff. So before we get into today's topic, and we'll tell you what the topic is in a minute, we thought we'd quickly touch on some of the stuff that has been going on over almost 2 months. So I guess the first thing is we'll kind of start where we ended. You turned 13 on December 19th. How'd your birthday go? I mean, I know I was there, but you can tell the people that are listening or watching. It
went pretty good. I got a lot of good stuff, and I was able to spend a lot of time with my parents.
Yeah, we always get together on Xavier's birthday and go to Paducah, and every year since he was 1, we go back to the hospital where he was born, and we take a picture underneath a clock in the nursery at the exact time he was born. Now, the clock that used to be right outside the nursery, they remodeled and got rid of it, so we had to find a new clock. But for the past 12 years, we've gone to the hospital and taken a picture at 1:21 on December 19th. And we've told Xavier, listen, you don't have to do this anymore. It's up to you. So we're going to do it as long as he wants to do it, and every year.
And I tell him every year that I love doing it with him.
Yeah. And then we also go to Red... Wow, we need a sneeze cough button. We need to invest in one of those. We also go to Red Lobster for Xavier's birthday. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, Xavier lives it up on his birthday. He goes to Red Lobster. Yeah, he gets macaroni and cheese. We go to Red Lobster, and he gets macaroni and cheese. Something that I could make for him with a box of macaroni and cheese in my cabinet. But we shell out $40-$50 because Mandy and I get something to eat. And by the time he has macaroni and cheese, we spend $40-$50. So what is it about Red Lobster mac and cheese? Yes. I'll never understand that. I won't. And then so after your birthday, Christmas and New Year's, your Christmas was great. We used to go to the movies on New Year's Eve. What did we see this year? Or Christmas Eve. What did we see?
We went to watch Frozen 2. Yeah,
so we went to go see Frozen 2.
And like you said, the topic today is Frozen 2. So how...
We'll get into our topic here in a minute, and we'll get fired up here in a few minutes. And then New Year's was good, and then, of course, the 1st of January, you were involved in a production with Masquerade Theater. Tell them about what it was and what part you played.
It was The Sound of Music. So basically, we just sang a little bit.
And what part did you play?
I was Friedrich.
The talent of the kids in this production is amazing because you guys worked on it for a couple of months, and just the singing, the choreography, the acting. It was just for Union City High School, and they had some of the middle school kids help out. It was amazing. I got to see it twice. It was
I know.
Great.
You want to know something? I didn't even watch the movie.
Yeah, so I told Xavier, I was like, we'll watch The Sound of Music on Disney Plus before you do the production. And then I went and I looked it up, and it was like 2 hours and 50 minutes. And I'm like, oh, wow, maybe not. It's a long movie. But I thought the production you guys did was amazing. So good job to you. And then in my life, we had a big benefit concert for Hinson Hill at the Capitol Theater last weekend, raising some money for special ops excursions.
And he did really good. He used to call himself a minor local celebrity. Now he's a semi-minor local celebrity.
I was so excited when I got off the stage last weekend. Xavier was like, usually you're pretty like, whatever. But you're pretty fired up when we finished.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody that came out and supported, and we raised a lot of money. I don't know what the final total was. It was like, I'd heard it was like around $3,000-$4,000. So
that's pretty good.
A great benefit concert last weekend at the Capitol Theater. Hinson Hill is the group that I'm in, and more on social media. Hinson Hill Music. You can look us up. One more thing before we get into our episode, and we'll tell them what the topic is today.
The topic is Star Wars.
Star Wars. So I thought this was kind of like we ended on a great big note with your music CD and our season finale, and I thought, how are we going to top that? I'm not sure we're going to top that, but I thought a great thing to start back with is Star Wars, something that everybody can kind of relate to. So before we get into our topic today, we did go to watch Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of the Skywalker.
Would you mind if I explain something to them real quick?
You have the floor.
So most years we usually go and watch. Most years we usually go and watch a movie on the 18th because my birthday is the 19th. But this year, was on Wednesday, and and my mom and me went to Wednesday night church.
Yeah, so we waited a couple extra days and we saw it on the 20th.
Which
was
the premiere.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool that over the past 4 years, Star Wars has been connected to your birthday because it always comes out around your birthday.
Yeah.
So before we get into today's topic and installment of Star Wars, we're just going to kind of touch on some general things about Star Wars. I wanted to talk about our review of Episode 9, Rise of the Skywalker. I guess we should say spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
I mean, we'll try not to give too many things away, but
yeah, if you're
just in case you haven't seen it, we do want to say spoiler alert.
Yeah, if you have not seen it, then you would not want to know that Emperor Palpatine is in it.
I think I should go first with my review because I feel so strongly about it.
Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of the Skywalker. I hated this movie.
Yes, he did.
I was angry. I wanted to get up and leave. I have never wanted to get up and leave a Star Wars movie, let alone a movie in general. I wanted to walk out. I hated it that much. And in retrospect, looking back,
why?
It was just jumbled. It was so ill-conceived. The whole 7, 8, 9 trilogy there, it was forced. It was Disney trying to make a buck. Listen, they paid like $4.5 billion for George Lucas's stuff. Yeah. They want to make money. I get it. But invest some time into the story. It was awful.
I do have to admit, like, the middle part with the big fetch quest about the Wayfinder or the Wayfinder or the whatever finder. Yeah, that was...
Like, I didn't even care. I was rooting for some of the characters to die because I didn't like them so much.
Didn't you say you did that in, like, one of the Hunger Games movies?
Probably. That's when you know that I dislike movies, when I start rooting against the hero. But I'm not saying that episodes 1, 2, and 3 were great, but this 7, 8, 9, J.J. Abrams is a hack. He destroyed Star Wars franchise. And they were so bad that Disney is going to go on a hiatus with Star Wars for a while.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I heard that, this might be completely false, but I thought I heard that Disney was actually considering getting George Lucas to make the movies from now on.
If I were George Lucas, I would be angry that my creation has been taken in one direction. But also, on the other hand, if I'm George Lucas, I'm like, I got $4.5 billion from Disney. I don't care. So, I don't know. Maybe he does care, but he's a billionaire. And I guess you don't have to care if you're a billionaire.
Yeah.
So, what did you think about 7, 8, 9? Just overall, did you like them? I mean, you're kind of coming into a point where, I had 42 years invested in Star Wars. And so I have a lot more strong feelings than Xavier does because you're kind of coming in the middle point. You're only 13, so you only have, almost a decade and a half of experience with this thing. So I've got a lot more invested. So I have more stronger feelings.
Yeah.
So how did you feel about 7, 8, 9?
Now, I'll be the second one to admit they're not the best. But, like, I still like them. Like, I'll still watch them. But, like, if I had, like, they're not as bad as, it's not as, like, it doesn't include my least favorite movie.
Well, we'll touch on that in just a minute.
Yeah.
Your least favorite Star Wars movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll touch on that in a minute. All right, so overall, Rise of the Skywalker, I hated it. I know a lot of people liked it.
There is one thing I liked about Rise of Skywalker.
What's that?
Chewie finally got his medal.
That was now,
cheated out of.
And I will give credit to Xavier because I'm sitting there watching this, and in the first Star Wars, A New Hope, they give everybody medals, and Chewbacca didn't get a medal. And it was like a big uproar on the internet that, Chewie didn't get his medal. Yeah. So in Rise of Skywalker, the woman comes up and gives Chewbacca a medal, and Xavier turns to me and he's like, "Hey, Chewie got his medal." I was so proud of you at that moment because I didn't pick up on it, and I was like, "The son has become the master." So
I'm the master now
of Star Wars. Yeah, you've got lots more Star Wars experience than I do because you watch you watch Star Wars Rebels, the cartoons, the comics and stuff.
And we'll get back to that. Well, I don't read the comics.
Well, I mean, you know more of the. He used this line on me when we saw the Han Solo. He said, "Hey, Dad, it's canon."
Yeah, and we'll get back to that later
Like,
because I'll talk to you
canon.
about that.
What are you talking about? And then, so I mean, lots of stuff happened in the cartoons I didn't know about.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll leave it at that. New Star Wars movie. I hated it. If you like it, great. But
More power to you.
Okay, so we're going to get into the overall topic of Star Wars. This is kind of how it goes, and we stray from time to time, but overall, this is kind of the outline of the show.
Yeah, I even decided to wear my Star Wars pin that you may or may not be able to see. It's the Rebel logo.
So you're 13. I'm 42. I'll be 43 in a couple of months. So we try to look at it at different topics from the 30-year gap. So 13, almost 43.
Yeah.
And we try to ask each other questions and try to learn a little bit about each other with that 30-year gap in between us. And I want to say some of the episodes I've learned a lot about you, and I hope you've learned a lot about me. It's interesting to hear your perspective on things. So we are talking about Star Wars today, and how do you want to do this? You want to ask? You said you had 12 questions?
Like 11, yeah.
That's amazing. He never has that many questions. I have 4.
I'll let you start today.
Okay, so I'm going to start off. So I'm going to ask you.
You can do all your questions, get them out of there, and then we'll do mine.
Okay, and I apologize for coughing. I'm getting over a chest congestion thing. I could barely sing last weekend because my voice was out, but so I apologize for coughing. We don't have a cough button. We haven't invested in that yet. Okay, so
we need to get one.
Here's my first Star Wars question for you. As a dad, before you were even born, I had 2 things I wanted to share with you with hopes that you'd love them as much as I do. That being Star Wars and Pearl Jam. I'm holding out hope for Pearl Jam, even though that hasn't happened yet. But Star Wars was really kind of a tough thing to convince you of when you were little. I would always try to get you to watch Star Wars when it was on, when you were in the room, and you had zero interest. As a matter of fact, we went to Disney World right after Disney acquired the rights, the Star Wars stuff. You had zero interest in that.
Like, I can even remember something. Yeah.
Well, so answer to me this first. Were you genuinely not interested, or did you playfully not like it because I wanted you to? Did you do it out of spite? Because you do that quite often. If I like something, you're just like, I'm not going to like it out of spite.
Both. Because, I remember that I did not like Star Wars, mostly because I didn't like you as a kid.
You didn't like me? That's valid.
But the other reason was because it kind of scared me.
Like Darth Vader scared you?
Yeah, like I said, on the ride, we went on a ride that I went on again when we went back a couple of years ago, and in that ride, Darth Vader tries to stop a tour ship or something like that you're on. And it scared me because in that ride the ship was kind of moving.
Yeah, it does move around. Weren't you the rebel? They highlight a passenger.
Last year I actually was, and you wanna know something?
Huh.
Just playfully, I just started whistling on.
Yeah, they have a camera inside the little ride that you're on, and then they highlight one passenger as the rebel scum that they're trying to capture, and Xavier was the rebel scum.
Yeah, that was really cool.
So I guess the overall answer to that question was you were scared of it, and you also did it out of spite.
Also fun fact, Starbursts. I always thought that they were called Star Wars, and I didn't like Starburst for a long time.
Yeah, you have a strange way of understanding words.
I was
meanings.
3.
Yeah. All right. So it wasn't until you were 7 years old that you finally came around and started.
7 years old?
7 years old. I looked it up. You started dropping hints subtly that you might want to watch Star Wars. So do you remember when we started? I didn't even have to look up the date. I knew when we started.
I don't remember the exact date, but I think it was around I don't remember when we started, but I'm pretty sure that Uncle Jern was there.
Well, I'm pretty sure he was too, but it was Easter weekend of 2014. We finished up. So we started Easter weekend of 2014, which is, I think, late April that year. And the cool part about this is that we finished watching the first 6 episodes. We finished up Revenge of the Sith, episode 3, on May the 4th of 2014.
Oh, that is really cool.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. We made a big deal out of it. So what was it that made you finally decide to give it a go after being scared of it and not watching it on Spike?
Okay, now this is actually kind of embarrassing. But, like, when I was around, like, 7-ish, like, 5, like, I don't know what, like, I went into this, like, Angry Bird fever. I know this sounds completely unrelated, but, like, they have, like, an Angry Bird Star Wars, and they had...
Oh, that's right. They did have Angry Bird Star Wars.
Yes, and I remember something, and basically, like, they have, like, a short for, like, the cantina scene, and basically, you know how in the original thing, somebody's arm gets cut off? Mm-hmm. Well, in the Angry Birds Star Wars, since the birds don't have hands, a pickle did.
A pickle?
Yes. I'll show you it. I'll show you it after this. And then I distinctly remember that I said, hey, isn't this where a guy's pickle gets cut?
So it was, I got to say thank you to Angry Birds for making my son be interested in Star Wars. Who would have ever thunk it?
I know.
It's weird. I know.
It really
now
is
that
weird.
you say that makes sense because I remember you were in an Angry Birds phase.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So I decided to introduce you to Star Wars. I started with episodes 4, 5, and 6, the ones that came out back in the 70s and early 80s. And then we went back and we watched episodes 1, 2, and 3. Basically, you watched them in the order they were released, just like I watched them. So would you have rather watched them in chronological order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or did you like seeing them the way God and George Lucas intended?
I said in God there.
Well, I mean, you know, there are some people that may want to watch them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're called freaks, but, you know, some people like that.
I like watching them chronologically. Like,
no, you do like watching them chronologically?
no, when I said chronologically by how they're released.
Okay. So 4, 5, 6,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Exactly.
Okay.
And actually, right now on Disney Plus, I'm kind of like binge watching the series in like the order that it was created, and like.
So you're going back and doing it again, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3?
Yeah, and like I don't know when I'm gonna do it, but I'm thinking later I'm actually gonna do it chronologically how they occurred.
See, that's what I love about this is that when we first started, you disliked Star Wars, and then you started like Star Wars, and now you've taken your love of Star Wars and surpassed what my love of Star Wars has been over the years. I mean, you really get into it, and you watch all these different. You know so much more about Star Wars than I do. You know who these characters are.
Well, that's because of a simple thing:
canon,
the internet.
the internet. Well, but it's kind of
Like,
cool. It
right-
is cool to see you be so interested in Star Wars.
Yeah, right now I'm on the last season of Star Wars Rebels, so soon I'm gonna start watching episode 7.
And there's a new season of what is it? Star Wars. Is it Rebels? That's going to be on Netflix or on Disney Plus.
Oh, and there's gonna be the last season of Star Wars Clone Wars coming out
Right.
next month.
Okay. Speaking,
It's gonna be like this is a Disney Plus original.
yes, an exclusive for
Yeah.
Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Speaking of Clone Wars, so if we just focus on the George Lucas series of films, we're not talking about the garbage that J.J. Abrams put out. Give me your favorite and least favorite episode, and your favorite and least favorite characters. Now we only have a couple of rules in this family, and one of those rules is your least favorite Star Wars film. So you better get this right.
Clone Wars.
Oh my!
Wait, no, not
gosh.
Clone Wars. The Rise of the Clones.
Episode 2 is what I call it. I call it garbage. Oh, that was a terrible movie.
That was the worst.
But you know what? I would rather watch that than watch Rise of the Skywalker.
Like,
That's
the
how much
only
I
thing
dislike
that I
the new
liked.
movie.
The only thing I liked about it is that it introduced the clones. Like, I didn't like the look of it. I didn't like the characters. I didn't
Just
like.
dragged on.
I didn't like how much Anakin disliked sand. I mean,
I disliked Hayden Christensen as Anakin. This is the least favorite line in the whole series of films. It's Obi-Wan. He's holding me back. That was awful acting.
yeah. Don't forget the line about sand.
What was the sand one?
He was talking about how he hated sand.
I blocked that out. All right, so is that your least favorite one out of the first 6?
Definitely.
All right, so what's your favorite one?
Easy. New Hope.
Yeah, well, I have to disagree with you a little bit there.
Revenge of the Sith.
No, Empire.
Empire. That's what I meant to say.
I remember seeing Empire in a little theater out on Dort Highway in Flint, Michigan, and it was me and my dad, and I remember Han Solo being lowered into the carbonite, and this cliffhanger of an ending. I'm like, oh, what's going to happen? And I had to wait 2 years to find out. And I was asking my dad, I was like, so when are we going to find out what's going to happen? He's like, it's going to be a while.
Like, you want to know something? I actually remember, again, this guy sound completely unrelated, but I remember walking out of the Lego movie one time, and I was like, so when's the next Lego movie coming out? And then you're like, well, my dad said, when we watched Empire Strikes Back, I remember that my dad said, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to, take some while to come up with this stuff, so. All right, so New Hope, which isn't a bad answer. That's your favorite one. Clones, that's the least favorite. So you have favorite characters, least favorite characters?
This one's kind of hard, actually. I think... Here, you give your answers real quick.
I think along with everybody, I like Boba Fett, and just because he looks cool. And true story, I got to meet the guy who was in the Boba Fett outfit. His name is Jeremy Bullock. He is British, and he came to Metropolis, Illinois, about 10 or 15 years ago.
Did he have any speaking lines?
No, he was just the actor inside the suit. I think somebody else voiced the actual character. But I got to meet him. He was an older gentleman, super nice. I got my picture taken with him. I got an autograph. So, Boba Fett is kind of, I think everybody's kind of favorite. I do like Han Solo. Han Solo is just cool. And then least favorite, I don't have as much hate against Jar Jar as a lot of people do. He doesn't bother me.
Like Uncle Germ, who
does he really dislike Jar Jar?
Fun fact, I think I heard this from Avery Riley. They said that he actually, when he was showing them the movies, he skipped episode 1.
That's harsh. I mean, you've got to watch episode 1. Oh, you know what? My least favorite character is just because of the actor, it's Anakin in episodes 2 and 3. I didn't even mind Jake Lloyd in episode 1, the little boy. I like episode 1. That's just me. Of course, I just graduated college and I was on top of the moon when that movie came out. So, so you didn't have anybody?
For least favorite, I don't know, Grievous. No, not Grievous. Dooku, maybe.
Count Dooku.
Yeah, in the Clone Wars, he was pretty good, but
didn't translate to live action.
No, well, funny thing is that he was in live action first.
I like the character Viceroy.
Who is that again?
He was in episode 2. Viceroy. That's all I remember.
My favorite is most likely Luke.
Okay, I can see
I
that.
just really like him.
He's a good everyman character. I can see that.
Yeah.
All right, so here's my final question, and then we'll get into your litany of questions. Just to interest, I wanted to gauge your temperature on this. What is it about Star Wars that transcends generations? How is it that a sci-fi movie that came out in 1977, a movie that came out in theaters 3 weeks after I was born, how does it still continue to bond people together? What is it about that movie?
I don't know. I think that the thing that makes people love it so much is the actors make them love it, and just the overall idea of it. I think that most people like sci-fi. They imagine being in space and stuff like that.
And the overall story of good versus evil.
Yeah.
And I would also throw in that there's probably, especially with fathers and sons, there's that issue of, you've got your father, Darth Vader, you got the son, Luke Skywalker, and that's...
Spoiler alert. Yeah, we already said that.
But you've got the dynamic of them, the father and son connection, and so many fathers and sons kind of bond over that whole arcing storyline.
I think, kind of what you just said, I think that Star Wars, from today, I think a lot of the reason that a lot of kids like it is because it bonds the parents, because the parents, they've grown up on watching this stuff, and the kids, they may have just found out about it, but now they love it.
Well, let me ask you this: so when you start a family and you have kids, is Star Wars going to be something that you're definitely going to introduce them to?
Definitely, most likely.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that it will live on for years and years to come. So think that's why Star Wars resonates with people.
You want to know another reason that's going to resonate with us, with everybody? Because Disney's going to keep making money off of it.
Ain't that the truth, brother? Ain't that the truth? And one final thing, Xavier is. I've quoted the movie Spaceballs to him, and he thinks that I came up with those lines. So I wanted to show Xavier the parody movie Spaceballs. I think he's of age where he can watch it and understand some of the references. We have not watched it yet, but I'm looking forward to watching Spaceballs with you because it's a parody and it's got a lot of Star Wars-esque things in there. So I think Spaceballs. I'm pretty sure it's on Stars or IMDb TV anyway.
Or Amazon Prime, I think. Amazon Video, I mean.
Maybe, yeah. So it's one of those. Now that you've watched all the Star Wars stuff, I think you'll appreciate the parody stuff and all the humor in Spaceballs because they've got a lot of characters like, that I can't remember the character names off the top of my head right now, but they've got a lot of characters that are similar to Star Wars.
Yeah. Also, do you want to know a fun fact?
Man, you've got lots of fun facts this week. What's that?
So I actually saw a video about a Star Wars special that I'll tell you. And you know how R2-D2 and C-3PO got into that one pod in A New Hope to go to Tatooine?
Mm-hmm.
Well, do you want to know what caused it?
What's that?
C-3PO, he got scared by a blast. And there's a special, and basically a lazy stormtrooper is sitting back and accidentally blasted it. And you want to know what that special was?
What's that?
The Phineas and Ferb Star Wars special.
Oh, is it? And that's so you're saying that's how?
Yeah,
it's kind of like it's kind of like a Back to the Future 1985. That's one thing set one thing into motion.
Because in most Star Wars specials, you'd think, oh, okay, well they're gonna replace the main characters. No, they're not. They just show what happens behind the scenes.
Right.
Like, for example, remember when Luke was standing up there admiring the scene in Episode 4?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what you can't see is R2-D2 sneaking out with Perry the Platypus.
All this thing was a grand plan of Disney all along, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All right.
They also said that none of it was canon.
I'm out of questions. We're gonna throw it over to you, and you can ask me.
Okay. Welcome to the longest video.
Nah.
Okay, so who showed you Star Wars?
I kind of touched on it earlier. I don't remember watching Star Wars Episode 4. I don't remember when I watched that, but I remember the theater. I remember there was a little diner next to it, and we went and had lunch after. We watched Empire Strikes Back in this theater, and my dad took me. And it would have been 1980, 1981. So I think, I saw Empire in the theater, and he took me to see Return of the Jedi. And I don't remember. I just remember that. It's strange how some memories stick out. I remember watching it in that little theater. I don't even think the theater's there anymore. There used to be a bowling alley next to it. It was on Dort Highway in Flint. So that's how I got started with it.
Okay. So in these questions, a few of these are going to be pop quiz questions.
Uh-oh.
So, here's the first pop quiz.
I can't even remember why I walked in rooms.
Okay. What type of Jedi wields yellow lightsabers?
Dude, I don't know. I told you this earlier. Your knowledge has surpassed me. You're like, hey, you see in The Mandalorian there's a black or a dark lightsaber. You know what that means? I'm like, no, I don't. It
means that he's a head Mandalorian.
I don't keep up on that stuff anymore. It's like new music. I don't seek out new music anymore because I'm old and lazy. So there you go. So I will just answer your questions. I have no idea.
Okay. Here's my next. Well, I'll give you the answer.
Yeah, give me the. I mean, don't keep our audiences.
Sorry. Okay, so the yellow lightsabers belong to, drumroll please, I'm just kidding, Jedi Temple Guards.
Would have never figured that out. Never.
It's in Star Wars Rebels. You should know that.
I see. Yeah, I don't watch Star Wars Rebels.
Okay, so you know how in the first trilogy, how they're called the Empire?
Yes.
And you know how in the newest trilogy they're called the First Order?
Correct.
Well, what are they called in the first trilogy? And it is not the Sith.
So you're saying episodes 1, 2, and 3? Federation?
That's close. The Separatists.
Separatists. Okay.
That's why you need to watch Star Wars Clone Wars.
There you go. So I got half point for that.
Yeah, I'll give you a half point for that. Okay. How do you think the Emperor could have even survived?
All right. Spoiler alert if you've not seen the new Star Wars. This was stupid. So, in Return of the Jedi, it's Darth Vader, right? It's been a while since I watched it. Darth picks up the Emperor and throws him to his eternal death out in space, right? Picks up the Emperor and throws him out, right?
Yeah, I saw. Weren't you watching it just a couple of days ago?
I don't know why I walk in rooms sometimes. So, all right, Emperor's dead. Everything's cool. Now I'm watching Rise of the Skywalker. And the Emperor shows up. I'm like, whoa. This is stupid. So they're trying to have some sort of big surprise, big reveal, and it's like, come on, guys, you're smarter than that. Apparently not.
So how do you think that, like, let's say that in universe, like, we're throwing out that it's actually a film, how do you think that he could have survived?
I mean, he was a Sith Lord, right? So, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure he could have figured out some way to, like, yield his powers to survive in space and to heal himself and come back. I mean, there's a possibility, but
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's
like,
just lazy story writing.
Yeah. Like, here's what I think. Like, in universe, someone tells me, like, he fell down and, like, some guards tried to help him onto a ship.
See, already, I just don't care.
Yeah, me neither.
It's a lot cooler ending when Darth Vader picks him up and throws him, and then son and father reunited. That's a much better ending, and then you've just totally ruined that ending.
Well, like, to be fair, if Luke can haul Darth Vader onto a ship and have a heart-to-heart, I'm pretty sure that somebody could haul the Emperor onto a ship.
Yeah, but it's father and son. And
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I don't. I have strong feelings about it. I'm sorry.
Okay, so let's say that you're in the Star Wars universe.
Okay.
Which side would you choose?
The cool answer, the Brent answer would be, I'd be Han Solo. I'd be neutral. I'd be out for myself. That's what, and I didn't really grasp the story arc of Han Solo until recently. But you know the whole thing about who shot first, and the fact that in the original movie Han shot Guido first because it shows that he was a smuggler and he's out for himself and he's still just kind of riding the line between good and evil. And then by the time episode 4 is over, you see this story arc of a guy who was out for himself really kind of come around and be a part of the group. So that's kind of cool. I've always, now that I got to know a little bit more about that, I thought that was kind of a really cool kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then Disney had to mess it up.
And how they mess it up? What am I missing?
They made Greedo stop first.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking. Yeah, so they went back and they made Greedo. Yeah, leave stuff alone. That's the reason why it's popular, because people like it. Stop messing around with stuff.
Yeah, Aladdin remake.
Yeah, don't get me started on Aladdin. Anyway, the Brent answer is that I would be Han Solo because that'd be cool.
Okay, well, I'll take that, but for later, for a different question, let's say that you're in the... Would you be Empire or Rebellion?
I'm
light or dark?
I would be light side. I would be on the Rebellion side.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I always want to see good defeat evil.
Good. Okay. Which character would you want to be?
Again,
yeah.
Han Solo's pretty cool. Yeah, I think Boba Fett's cool too. I mean, I know he's kind of with the Empire, but he's kind of on his own. But he's just got a cool jetpack.
He's a bounty hunter. He's really not with the.
Yeah, he's kind of.
Actually,
he's on his own.
He's more Jabba Fett.
He's kind of like Han Solo. They're out for themselves.
I'm sorry, I said Jabba Fett.
Django Fett.
No,
right?
I was like.
Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, I meant Jabba the Hutt.
Basically, you give anybody a jetpack and they're cool. I think.
So if I wear a jetpack, does that make me cool?
Well, I'm not. Well, there are exceptions to rules.
Okay. Okay. So you've watched Star Wars. You watched it a lot. Have you ever watched Star Trek?
Wow, this is a big debate. I've been in the room where Star Trek episodes have been played. My dad was a big Star Trek fan, but I just could never get into it. It's just not my thing. I was always, I know there are people that like Star Wars and Star Trek, but I'm a Star Wars. That's where I fall.
Like, if you show me one of the characters, probably like know it's from Star Trek. I wouldn't be able to tell you who he is for the life of me. But
I mean, I'm sure there are some good storylines, and they made tons of movies, and it's just not the. See, that's the thing we were talking about earlier. Why Star Wars transcends generations is because of the story, the overall arcing story. I think that's what brings people back. And Star Trek just didn't have the same meats behind it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. So this one goes all the way back to the question, literally 2 questions ago.
All the way back.
The what side question.
Okay.
Would you rather, would you rather be like one of the pilots, one of the generals, or the obvious answer, a Jedi?
I mean, Jedis are cool. I bet. Here's the thing about Jedis is like you got to train, and it looks really hard. Because when Luke went to the Dagobah system, which, side note, fun fact, my office at work, because I'm back there by myself, I call it the Dagobah system.
That's cool.
It's like, it's hard. Like Yoda, like, he put you through the ringer. I mean, you really had to do a lot of hard work. And I don't, at this point in my life, I'm like, I want to just relax a little bit, kick back. So I got to be a general then. I don't know.
Okay.
I think I'm a general in my mind anyway.
Okay, so what do you think about, like, not just, like, the latest trilogy, like, everything that Disney's produced for Star Wars? Do you think it's all been bad?
No, I'm not going to go that far. I thought Rogue One was a good film.
I'll be honest, at the time, I didn't really like Rogue One for the sole reason that, like, we already had Star Wars Rebels, but I later learned that Rogue One was more about, like, after, like, right before then,
right.
The episode 4. And and the main reason I didn't like it was because I wanted there to be something like, how did the First Order come into power?
And there may be something in the pipeline. I never know.
There's probably a comic for it, but
but I thought Rogue One was a good film.
Yeah,
I thought,
like seeing it, like watching. I'm gonna watch it in a little while.
Even the Solo movie, there were certain things about it I didn't care for, but I thought it was a pretty good movie. And then I wanted to make sure we touched on this. We watched The Mandalorian over the holidays, and I thought it's really slow and it really takes its time, but there's
like
something
at the end.
There's something about. I don't want to spoil The Mandalorian for people who haven't seen it yet because I respect that show, but Jon Favreau did an amazing job with this series, and it just it tells a story. It's a slow story. It doesn't rush anything. Whereas I think that the Star Wars 7, 8, 9 were rushed and they just threw stuff in. So
it's like, do you think that if he directed the Star Wars films, do you think it would be at least like not as good as the originals, but still good?
I think Jon Favreau had some room to, because it was on Disney Plus and it wasn't a big budget film, but he did some great work with the Marvel movies. So But when you're directing a big budget Star Wars Disney film like that, you got a lot of pressure on you, and you got to do certain things and make sure. So I think he had more room to kind of more breathing room when he had that series, The Mandalorian, which we highly recommend. It's a good show.
Yeah, and me and Dad were talking, and basically we were like when we were watching it, we're like, there's gonna be like it's starting off slow, but I'm sure that at the end something big is gonna happen that's gonna cultivate you back. And there was, like, at the end, like, I'm not gonna spoil it, but Dad didn't really get it because he didn't watch the Clone Wars, but like it has a reference to the Clone Wars.
See, again, you know more about Star Wars than I do. I just watched it and went, well, that's pretty cool. So I enjoyed The Mandalorian, and it's a good storytelling.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna.
And again, it all comes back with Star Wars. It comes back to the story.
Yeah, and here's something. So so in Solo, the Star Wars story. Anyways, so in Solo, you're kind of mad about the ending because.
Yeah, so it's been out long enough. So at the end of Solo, Darth Maul shows up. All right, and I turned to Xavier and I was like, "Was that Darth Maul?" And I was like, "Wait a minute." Solo, he would have been dead. So no, I saw him he was cut in half in the Phantom Menace, and this is where Xavier turns to me and he's like, he's alive, Dad. It's part of the canon. I'm like, what are you talking about? So apparently, Darth Maul is it Clone Wars or Rebels?
Both.
All right. So in those cartoon shows, Darth Maul's brother finds him. He's a spider. It's a little far fetched, if you ask me.
Yes,
it's along the line. It's along the lines
yes.
of the Emperor being dead. I think Darth Maul should be dead. But anyway, I watched the Han Solo movie, and at the tail end, Darth Maul shows up. I'm like, wait a minute, what? And then that was at the point where I knew Xavier had surpassed me in Star Wars knowledge because he knew exactly why he was there.
And let me just give the director for Solo a little bit of credit. In Solo, not Solo. You know how he came back in the Clone Wars?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that was
the cartoon Clone Wars.
The Clone Wars wasn't directed by Disney. Well, the next season is, but still.
But it was a part of the story that had been going on since. Yeah. So I was confused by that because I was like, wait a minute, he's dead.
Would you mind if I explain for a little bit?
We don't need to. No, we don't need to go into huge detail.
I'll explain it to you later then.
Okay. You got another question for me?
Yes.
One more. A lot. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Okay. So this is my last question. Why did you not watch the shows by Disney? I mean, not Disney. Like just the Star Wars shows in general.
The cartoons.
Yeah.
It came at a point in my life where I think they came out well after I was out of college and starting. When did they come out? I mean, it was in the 2000s, right?
Like I know that the past 3 Star Wars shows, like Star Wars Rebels, Mandalorian, and recently Resistance, they've all come out like a lot later.
Yeah. So
but like Clone Wars, it probably came out like after Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. So it's a point in my life where I'm in my mid 20s, late 20s, where Star Wars was something I grew up with, and I watched the movies, but then it was cartoons. I will say, though, even though they're cartoons, they are really well made, and the stories that they tell, they're animated. I keep saying cartoons. They're animated. But from what I watched, because I did watch the Darth Maul one, really well made and well told stories.
Yeah, and like there are a lot of characters that aren't even in there, like not even the main characters. Like Dooku had another apprentice named Ventress.
Yeah, so they get in more depth in the story of Star Wars.
Yeah, the bad thing about having a prequel and making new characters is can't have any of them alive.
Yeah, because
Yeah, because stuff like that, or like Ahsoka. She was She was Anakin's Padawan.
And so a lot of these folks show up in Rise of the Skywalker at the tail end. We won't give away too much, but they have, like, you hear the old Jedis kind of talking, and some of the people that have never been in a Star Wars movie, they were in the animated shows, you hear their voices pop up.
Yeah, like, you'll probably need to watch it twice to be able to hear it, because you'll need a guide. Well, not guide, but you'll have to know that they're there. But, like, two people like Ahsoka and Kanan from the 2 shows are both in there.
Can I tell you how proud I am that my son is talking about Star Wars stuff that I have no idea what he's talking about? He has surpassed me, ladies and gentlemen. That's awesome. It's really cool. So this is kind of it's really kind of a full circle moment how we're telling our own Star Wars story. We started out where I love Star Wars. I tried to bring you on, and you wanted to have nothing to do with it, and then you became fully immersed in it, and I'm like, wow, you're teaching me stuff. So it's kind of cool. Again, that's what this podcast is about. It's about kind of learning new things about each other, and I've learned that
it's a journey of self-discovery.
You have far surpassed me in Star Wars knowledge, but it's been a cool journey.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, and then we sometimes we do we did a couple of YouTube reviews, and we did one for the Rise of the Skywalker. I just haven't had time to put it together yet, and we put it on YouTube. Rise of the Skywalker.
Oh yeah,
I just didn't put it together. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can scroll down at some of the other videos, and Xavier did you did one for episode 7. I remember because I did the whole Star Wars crawl and everything in Final Cut Pro. So that was kind of neat.
Yeah.
But was that your last question?
That was my last question.
This was a fun episode. I like talking about.
It really was a fun episode.
Yeah, I like talking about Star Wars, and I think a lot of folks will enjoy it too because, A lot of folks grew up on Star Wars, and then the new generation is grown up on Star Wars with this horrible new series from J.J. Abrams.
Well, they will, like, with Disney Plus now out, they will have a lot of other stuff.
Lots of other stuff.
I feel like we're missing one other piece of media that came out, like between the Revenge of or the Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope, like something for Christmas.
Oh, the
Star Wars Christmas special.
The one, the Christmas special that George Lucas doesn't want anybody to see.
Yeah. Fun fact. I'm pretty sure I saw somewhere that The Mandalorian actually references that. I don't know how it references it, but
I do find this funny. In The Mandalorian, there's at the very last episode, they have two stormtroopers talking, and one of them is actor Jason Sudeikis, who was on Saturday Night Live, and then a buddy of mine at work said, yeah, that's Jason Sudeikis, and I even watched the episode knowing that, and I forgot it was him, and it's funny just to hear that.
Do you remember when like they were blasting something and they couldn't hit it?
Yeah, they were really, because they were always making fun of stormtroopers that they have no aim, they can't shoot anything. They were really hammering that point home. So
also, in episode 2, it was like these stormtroopers are great soldiers. They can hit anything with amazing accuracy. And I'm just like, but they become stormtroopers. Yeah. What happened?
We keep saying, but The Mandalorian's cool because it's got Horatio Sands from Saturday Night Live. He's in the first episode. Bill Burr is in one of the episodes. A lot of guest stars in The Mandalorian, which is really neat. And Carl Weathers is in there, who's Apollo Creed.
Speaking of Saturday Night Live, remember that thing that you showed me the other day about undercover bosses?
Yeah, I showed Xavier the thing with undercover boss with Kylo Ren.
And it actually had his actor.
Yeah, I haven't showed him with Adam Driver. I haven't showed him the very first one. I showed him the follow-up one when Adam Driver was on SNL a couple weeks ago.
Was the first one, was that Star Wars 2, or is that...
I think it came out after his first run as Kylo Ren, so it would have been in 2016 maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so something like that. So we're going to wrap up our Season 2 premiere. This is Season 2, Episode 1 of Conversations with Myself.
A journey of self-discovery.
I've enjoyed talking about Star Wars today. It is our own Star Wars story has been pretty cool. So I'm glad that I'm able to share Star Wars with you. So I guess one final question for you before we wrap up is, how long is it going to take you to come around to Pearl Jam?
Yes.
Pearl Jam just announced a tour, and we got tickets. I found out where my tickets are at today. We're going to Nashville, to Bridgestone, and I was like, Xavier, do you want to go see Pearl Jam? And he said, what?
No.
No, he said no. And I almost made him go until I saw how much they were charging for tickets, and I'm like, I'm not taking the kid who doesn't care for Pearl Jam, paying that much money for him not to like Pearl Jam. So maybe we'll tell our Pearl Jam story someday.
Maybe.
Probably not.
Probably not.
But here's hoping.
Yeah. Well, until next time, viewers.
Thank you, guys. So one thing, it's not just viewers. People listen to us, the audio podcast, too.
Listeners.
This is a video podcast and an audio podcast. We're dual threats. All right. Yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in to the Season 2 premiere of...
like a dual lightsaber like Darth Maul has.
That's a nice way to wrap it up, son.
Yeah.
All right. Conversation. I'm Brent. This is... Say your name.
Xavier.
This is Conversations with Myself.
A journey of self-discovery.
Until next time, may the Force be with you. Oh, we did not plan that out.
We did not.
See? We're connected.
Okay, let's do this whole time. 3, 2, 1. May
the Force be with you.